Number 4. The equation is y equals 1/3, and then inside parentheses x plus 5 squared. What does the 1/3 out in front do to the parabola? It shrinks it, okay? If there's a number out front and it's between 0 and 1, then it's a vertical shrink. And vertical shrinks makes the parabola appear what? Wider or fatter. Okay, but the actual mathematical term is vertical shrink. Wider. I mean, that's fine because you understand what's going on, but like on a test, it wouldn't say wider or fatter, it'll say vertical shrink. Okay, now, inside the parentheses is an x plus 5. What does that do to the parabola? Left 5. Okay, anytime the number is inside the parentheses with the x, it's a horizontal shift, which means left or right. Plus is left, minus is right. And then there's no number added or subtracted onto the end, so it doesn't move it up or down. Okay? Now, let's just quickly graph this just so you can see exactly what it looks like. Y equals 1/3. Remember, when you're typing in these, you don't have to type 1/3 in using the N over D button. You can just type 1 divided by 3. And then parenthesis, x plus 5, close parenthesis, and then square. And then I'm going to go ahead just to compare. Oops, I don't know how it got way down there. I'm going to go ahead and type in y2, just the parent function of a parabola. Y2 equals just x squared with nothing done to it. It's just x squared. Okay? So there's my new one. See, the red one is your standard quadratic equation. Y equals x squared. It starts at 0, 0. See how wide it is? When they threw the 1/3 in front of it, see how it got wider? It was a vertical shrink. And then see how that x plus 5 caused the vertex of it to move left 5 units? Yes. Okay, so what other one did y'all want to go over? 8. Number 8, start from left to right. What does that 1/2 do to the parabola? A vertical shrink. So I'll just write v dot shrink just to save a little bit of room. And then we move on to x minus 2 inside parentheses. So what does that do to the parabola? Right 2, yes. Anytime it's inside parentheses, it's horizontal, and in this case it would be right because of the minus 2. And then when you have a number on the outside of the parentheses, it's a vertical shift, and in this case that means up 2. The inside number is kind of tricky. It's the opposite of what your common sense would try to tell you. Minus moves right, plus would move left. The outside number, use your common sense. Plus is up, minus is down. Okay? Alright, any other ones from this section? Okay, what about the bottom section? 15? Okay, they want us this time to take the words and put them in an equation. So y equals, how do you represent a stretch by 5? Just 5. Okay, but before we just go ahead and write x squared, are we moving it horizontally at all? No, so there's not going to be a need for parentheses. You can just write x squared. And then how do you represent up 3? Plus 3. There's no need for parentheses this time because there's no right or left shift. There's just up 3, and that goes on the outside anyway. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, next page. Turn to the next page. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take each of these quadratic functions, and we're just going to fill in their y values of their table. First of all, how do I know this is a quadratic function? Because the x is squared. Anytime your x is squared, that's known as a quadratic function, and it'll make that U-shaped graph known as a parabola. Now, they gave us this function, but then didn't they give us 5 different x values? So don't you think they want you to take each of those x values, plug them in for x, and then find the corresponding y? So you can either do it in your head or calculator. So 3 parenthesis, negative 2 filled in for the x, close parenthesis, squared equals 12. So when negative 2 is in the x, y ends up equaling 12. And I'm just going to write them below it just because all the question marks are in the way. So now they want you to plug what in for x? Okay, so that would be 3, parenthesis, negative 1 in the x place, close parenthesis, and then square it, and you get 3. So when you input negative 1 for x, your output is 3. The next thing they want you to plug in for x is 0. So 3 times 0 squared is 0. The next thing they want you to input for x is the number 1. So 3 parenthesis 1 parenthesis squared is 3. And then the last thing they want you to input for x is 2, and you will get 12. Now, why is it that when we plugged in a negative 2, we got 12, and when we plugged in a positive 2, we got 12? Right, because you're just squaring those numbers, and when you square any number, doesn't it turn it to a positive? So negative 2 squared is 4. Positive 2 squared is 4. They both end up being 4, and then when you multiply by 3, that's how you get 12s. Same thing with the negative 1 and the 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. 1 squared is 1. So when you multiply each of those by 3, they both end up positive 3. I want you to take a couple of minutes and try to fill in the charts for 2, 3, and 4. Remember, with 3 and 4, to type in a fraction, if you want to type it in with the n over d, it's alpha y equals. So take a couple of minutes and fill in the charts for 2, 3, and 4. Okay, number 2, what did you get when you plugged negative 2 for the x? Negative 8. What about when you plug negative 1 in? 0, 1, and 2? Right. Okay, what about for number 3 when you plugged in a negative 4? Negative 2, 0. And so obviously this would be negative 6, negative 24, right? What about number 4? Ben? Right. Okay, any questions about those? Okay, now we're going to move on to, for the following functions, A, tell whether the graph opens up or down. B, find the vertex. C, find the axis of symmetry. And D, is the vertex a max or a min? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put A, B, C, D for number 5. Because they want you to tell 4 different things. A, they want you to say, does it open up or down? Okay, so according to this equation, y equals x squared plus 1, is that going to open up or down? Why? That moves the vertex up 1. That doesn't guarantee the graph opens up. What guarantees the parabola will open up? The positive in the front. The fact that it's positive x squared. Okay? For B, they want to know where the vertex is. Well, if this moves the whole thing up 1, won't the vertex now be sitting at 0, 1? We'll talk about C in a minute. And D, if your vertex is at 0, 1, and the parabola opens up, is that vertex point a max or a min? A min. Now, for some of you, it may be easier to graph this and be able to answer those. So y equals x squared plus 1. Okay, so look, we've confirmed that we were right about A. It is opening up. Okay, and that's because it was positive x squared. We're right about B. It now has a vertex of 0, 1 because that plus 1 shifted the whole thing up 1 unit. D is correct. The vertex is the minimum point. Isn't that the lowest point the parabola has? For C, they want to know about axis of symmetry. You know, like when you're a kid and you're learning about how to fold things so that they land right on top of the other half, so they have symmetry. How could you cut this parabola in half? Wouldn't you have to go straight down the y-axis? And isn't the y-axis a line that cuts through the x at 0? So the equation for the axis of symmetry is x equals 0. You have to cut straight through the x-axis at 0 to create symmetry with that parabola. Yep. Yep. Okay, so now let's look at number 6. First we'll try it without the graph, and then we'll try it with it. is this parabola going to open up or down? This time down. Why? Because it's a negative x squared. This minus 4 will do what to the parabola? Remember, the numbers that widen and all that are out front. The numbers at the end shift it up and down. It'll move it down 4. Okay, so if you move the vertex down 4, where's the vertex sitting now? 0, negative 4. Well, think about it. Try to picture this in your head. If you have a vertex that's going down 4 on the y, so it's sitting at 0, negative 4, and it's opening down, is that vertex a max or a min? A max. Okay, now let's put it on the calculator, because for some of you, seeing it will help. Y equals negative x squared minus 4. Okay, it's opening down like we said, and that's because it starts out with negative. Its vertex is now 0, negative 4, because that minus 4 on the end shifted the vertex down 4 units, which makes the vertex a maximum point. That's the highest point this parabola has now. For the axis of symmetry to cut that in half, wouldn't you have to go straight down again through the x-axis at 0? X equals 0 again. If the parabola doesn't shift horizontally, it'll always be x equals 0. But once the parabola starts shifting left and right, the axis of symmetry will change accordingly. Okay, so let's try one more together, and then I'll let y'all try some. For 7, 8, 9, and 10, you're not going to be able to tell me a lot from just the equation without seeing it. You can tell me a couple of things. You can still tell me whether it opens up or down. It opens up because it's a positive x squared. And if it opens up, doesn't that mean your vertex is the lowest point on it? So your vertex is a min. But to figure out where the vertex is and the axis of symmetry, we're going to put it on a graph. So y equals, okay, well let's see, x squared minus 2x. Okay, if you're trying to find the vertex and you're not exactly sure where it is, to me it looks like it's over 1, right? Yeah. So see this trace button up to the right, up to the left of graph? Hit trace and then type in 1 because we think it's at 1. See x equals 1 and then hit enter and it'll let you know it's at 1, negative 1. So your vertex is at 1, negative 1. Well, if your vertex is at 1, negative 1, to cut it in half, you'd have to cross through the x-axis at 1. So your axis of symmetry would be 1. X equals 1. X equals 1. Okay, so let's look at number 8. You can probably only tell me A and D right now before you see it on a graph. What's A? Up. And then if it opens up, that means your vertex is the lowest point of the graph, so minimum. Okay, but now let's get a graph so we can figure out where the vertex is. So x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, to me it looks like to get to that vertex you have to go left 1, correct? So let's hit trace and hit negative 1 because it looks like you have to go left 1 on the x-axis to get to the vertex. Now hit enter and it'll let you know the vertex is at negative 1, 0. So if the vertex is at negative 1, 0, where would you have to draw your line of symmetry to cut it in half? Negative 1. So your axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. You have to cut through the x-axis at negative 1 to cut it in half, right? Okay, I want you to take a minute and try 9 and 10. Going. All right. The first thing we can do is decide whether it opens up or down. Which is it? Up, because that's a positive 3x squared. And once we know it opens up, that kind of tells us the vertex is at the bottom of it, which is the minimum. Okay, but to figure out where the vertex is and where the axis of symmetry is, we need to graph it. So y equals, sure, okay, 3x squared minus 6x. Is that a prediction or just what you got when you did it? Okay. It looks to me like it's right 1, up 1, but remember to confirm that, you can hit trace, type in 1, because we think it's over 1, and then yes, 1, 1. Okay, if your vertex is 1, 1, where would you have to draw your line through the x to cut it? X equals 1. Hold on. Shh. Y'all get quiet. A, B, C, D. Charlie. Number 10, is this going to open up or down? Down, which means your vertex will be your correct. Okay, so now I need to graph it so that I can find out exactly where that vertex is. Shh. Why don't you help me out by calling out the equation? Negative 2x squared.
Plus 5x times 3.
Okay, so when I hit graph,
1. 1.5.
Yeah, like let me hit trace and just hit 1. It looks like it's a little past 1. 1, 0. Let me zoom in a little, let it get a better look at it. Yeah. See, that shows 1, 0, but that's not the vertex, is it? The vertex is a little higher, so let me go left a little more. I might have gone too far. Hold on.
Wait, so like 1.2?
Does that look like the center and the top? Yeah, so it's like 1.2 and then up 0.09. Yeah. So 1.2 and then up 0.09. So if your vertex is there, where would you have to draw the line for the axis of symmetry? 1.2. So x equals 1.2. Yeah. Okay. At least maybe with multiple choice you could get close enough to, figure it out. Because look, I had to go, to get to the very top of that parabola, I had to keep going over past 1 a little. That wasn't the exact top, was it? I had to go over a little. Shh. Okay, next page. I want you to take a second and try 11, 12, and 13 without a calculator. Without. It's not that hard. Take 30 over these. When I was doing these last night, the first thing I noticed out of these 3 graphs is that this is the only one that opens down. Well, this is the only equation that has a negative, so 13 has to match up with B for that reason. Okay? Does that make sense? When I looked at these 3 graphs, I noticed that B was the only one opening down, and 13 was the only one with a negative out front. The negative out front flips it upside down, remember? So now, then I looked and I thought, well, this one, I kind of know what to do. -2 just takes the parabola down 2 units. Well, then, didn't this one just take it down 2 units? Yep. So A goes with 12, and then, by process of elimination, C goes with 11. Well, but you would have known them if you had the other 2. Okay. Now for this section, we're going to graph the function, label the vertex, and the axis of symmetry. Okay, well, x squared plus 2 lets you know the parabola does what? It goes up 2 units. That plus 2 moves it up 2 units, right? Now, it will open up, but we're going to get a more accurate sketch. We're not just going to draw it up. Go to your calculator. Okay, go ahead and be typing it in while mine's thinking. Yeah, it was spinning. So, sorry. X squared plus 2. Oops, I gotta fix my graph. Okay, once it's typed in, it'll look like that. But still, you can't exactly see where the points would be from that, correct? Look up at the board. So I'll show you how to find the points. See this blue button over here that says second? Hit it. And then see over here above graph how it has the word table? You're hitting that button, and there's every point on that parabola. So obviously, look, these are too big to put on there. If we get -2, 6, we could fit that on there. Just go left 2, up 6. Second graph, or second table. And it'll take you to all of the points on that parabola. It's right above the graph button. That's why when I say look at the board right now, that's what I mean. Okay? The next one is at -1, 3. So left 1, up 1, 2, 3. Then the next point is 0, 2, which we already plotted because we knew the whole thing moved up 2 units from the origin. Then our next point is 1, 3. So right 1, up 3. And then the last point that we can fit on here is 2, 6. Right 2, up 6. And now that we have those 5 points, we have an accurate sketch of the parabola. Like exactly how wide it would open up. We'll go over it. Okay, so now they want you to identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry. What was the vertex? Y'all, where's that point located? 0, 2. It has an x value of 0 because you didn't move left or right to get to it. You just went up 2 on the y. And what would the axis of symmetry be? X equals 0. Wouldn't you have to cut straight down through the middle, which would be x equals 0? Okay, so now let's look at number 15. For this one, we're going to have to graph it right away. The only thing we can tell from the equation is that it opens down. Okay, but that's the only thing we can tell from the equation, so let's just graph it. Negative x squared minus 4x. Okay, we hit graph. Now, to get some points on this parabola, look at the board in case you didn't get it last time. You hit second table. And then you go down and you find the points that you can put on there nicely. Like negative 5, negative 5. Can you put that? No. You can put negative 4, 0. So left 1, 2, 3, 4. You can put negative 3, 3. Left 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3. You can put negative 2, 4. Left 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can put negative 1, 3. Left 1, up 1, 2, 3. And then you can put 0, 0. Okay, it opens down because that negative was out front. And then now that we see the sketch, where is that vertex? The vertex is where the graph changes direction. So see how it's going up and then all of a sudden right here it goes down? Negative 2, 4. It's negative 2, 4, guys. And where is the axis of symmetry? Where would you have to cut through it? At x equals negative 2. Okay, we will...